Art Bell's Coast to Coast AM was more than a late-night radio show. It was a gateway to the unknown. For decades, millions tuned in to hear tales of ghosts, UFOs, government secrets, and the paranormal. But on one unforgettable night in the early 1990s, the show crossed the line from the bizarre into the downright terrifying. And it all began with a mysterious caller who claimed to be an insider from the legendary and heavily guarded military facility, Area 51. At the time, Area 51 was already shrouded in rumors and mystery. Officially unacknowledged by the government for years, the secretive Nevada base became the stuff of legend. Whispers of crashed alien spacecraft, secret experiments, and strange technology swirled through the UFO circles and conspiracy forums. Art Bell himself often explored these topics, but the call from a man named Joe took the mystery into an entirely new level. Joe's voice was calm and steady at first, professional even, but there was an unmistakable urgency lurking beneath his words. He claimed to have worked as a technician inside Area 51, involved in reverse engineering alien technology salvaged from unidentified flying objects. His job was a part of a highly classified program, so secret that only a few insiders knew its real purpose. As Joe spoke, the tone shifted. He described something darker and far more disturbing than mere technology. He spoke of biological experiments, hybrids created by splicing extraterrestrial DNA with human genetic material. These beings were not the sleek, otherworldly visitors popularized in sci-fi. According to Joe, they were grotesque, malformed creatures, barely alive, with elongated limbs and faintly glowing eyes that pierced the darkness of their underground chambers. Joe referred to these beings as part of Project Crimson, a top-secretive initiative said to involve entities capable of manipulating reality itself. These creatures, he claimed, could warp space, induce intense hallucinations, and even erase people from existence. The horrors Joe described went far beyond anything publicly imagined. Some technicians working on the project reportedly vanished without explanation, swallowed by the very phenomena they were studying. Listeners across the country were captivated. Joe's descriptions included astonishingly detailed knowledge of the base's layout, tunnels, restricted zones, and even security measures. Facts that only an insider could know. When Art Bell pressed for more information, Joe's voice dropped to a near whisper. They're watching, he warned. They don't want this out. Suddenly, strange noises started creeping in through the phone line. There was a burst of static, mechanical whirring, and a faint but chilling sound that resembled inhuman screams echoing in the distance. The call flickered and then abruptly cut out. When the line came back, Joe sounded frantic, almost desperate. I shouldn't be saying this, he said. They're coming. And then, just like that, silence. Art Bell tried repeatedly to call Joe back, but the number was disconnected, unreachable. No one ever verified Joe's identity. The government remained silent on any such project. No evidence of Project Crimson or the grotesque hybrids ever surfaced. And yet, the call stayed etched in the minds of thousands of listeners. In the following weeks, some who heard the broadcast reported strange and unsettling occurrences. Phones rang without callers. Shadowy figures appeared just beyond the edge of vision. Nightmares filled with faceless creatures, twisted tunnels, and alien landscapes that seemed almost real. The story spread like wildfire through conspiracy forums and paranormal communities. Some claimed Joe was telling the truth, a whistleblower, risking everything to expose horrific secrets. Others dismissed it as a hoax, perhaps a carefully crafted story designed to chill late-night listeners. But the ambiguity only deepened the mystery. If the story was a fabrication, it was an extraordinarily detailed and convincing one. If it was real, then what Joe revealed was something beyond comprehension. Art Bell himself later confessed that the call left him shaken. The sense that he'd opened a door that should have stayed closed. That there was something dark and ancient lurking beneath the surface of government secrecy. something not meant for human eyes or ears. The Area 51 caller's tale taps into primal fear, the fear that beyond the well-known conspiracies lie horrors so profound they defy explanation. Entities that don't just hide in shadows but can twist reality itself. That knowledge of them changes you, haunts you, perhaps even threatens your very existence. Over the years, fans of the shows have kept Joe's story alive, sharing old recordings, dissecting the audio for clues, and piecing together fragments of information. Some insist that Joe's call was a warning, a desperate plea to the world about experiments that went too far. Others believe it was a trap, a carefully designed broadcast meant to lure the curious into a web of fear and confusion. Then there are those who say the story is far from over. Whispers persist of another version of the channel where similar calls are still broadcast late at night, hidden in static and white noise. Some claim to have seen unexplained figures lurking near their homes after listening too long. Others speak of losing time or experiencing strange sensations during and after the broadcasts. Whether Joe was real or a fabrication, the legacy of that fateful call remains. It is a chilling reminder that some doors, once opened, cannot be closed, that some knowledge comes at a price, and that in the shadows of government secrecy, there may be things lurking that no one is meant to know. The Area 51 caller didn't just tell a story of aliens or government experiments. He spoke of something darker, a terror beyond understanding, waiting beneath the desert sands, hidden from view but never gone. And for those who listened that night, the question still lingers. What happens when the Watchers come for you?
Line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Art.
Yes.
Hi. I don't have a whole lot of time.
Well, look, let's begin by finding out whether you're using this line properly or not.
Area 51.
Yeah, that's right. Were you an employee or are you now?
A former employee.
Former employee.
I was let go on a medical discharge about a week ago, and I've kind of been running across the country. Oh man, I don't know where to start. They're gonna they'll triangulate on this position really soon.
So you can't spend a lot of time on the phone. So give us something quick.
Okay. Okay. What we're thinking of as aliens are they're extra-dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51. The disasters that are coming, the military, I'm sorry, the government knows about them, and there's a lot of safe areas in this world that they could begin moving the population to now, Art.
But they're not doing anything.
They are not. They want the major population centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable.
Discharge.
I started getting...
Some way, something knocked us off the air, and we're on a backup system now.
It's the government, or...
I don't know.
It has to be something, though.
Well, did you hear... Now, you tell me, because you were listening.
That was awful strange.
There was a really weird guy on the air when it went off?
Yeah. Real weirded out.
Like, going... Sort of sounding paranoid, schizophrenic?
Like crying and everything.
Yeah. And how far into the conversation was it when it went off?
Just a couple, about 15, 20 seconds. I'd say.
Oh, you
Like that.
guys missed, you really missed the call then, and I've got a feeling somebody didn't want you to hear it.
Yeah.
The internet hides its secrets well. Among layers of memes, fake names, and forgotten forums lies a trail of digital breadcrumbs. Most lead nowhere, but some lead to something much darker. It all starts with a Reddit user named Religion of Peace. For years, he was a regular of r/announcements, known mostly for posting crude, aggressive comments. His flair read, "Dispensing Lake City quiet pills to deserving Americans." At first glance, it seemed like a joke, a dark gun culture euphemism, something you scroll past without thinking. Until he died. In July of 2009, a new user appeared. 26 claimed to be a friend of Religion of Peace. He posted a short, emotionless eulogy. He died today. He was old as hell, and he pissed off a lot of people. He was my only friend. But that post would set off a rabbit hole no one expected. Curious Redditors dug into Religion of Peace's account. His comments hinted at a past in military intelligence. His language was clinical, tactical, mentions of field work, clients, and opportunities. He claimed to be old, ex-military, and running a data hosting site called LakeCityQuietPills.com. The name stuck out. A reference to Lake City Army ammunition plant? Possibly, but combined with his online persona, it felt more like a veiled threat. Quiet pills, as bullets. Redditors visited the site. At first glance, it looked like a crude image host, something straight out of 2002, but hidden in the HTML source code was something else. Job postings. Buried in the back end of a supposedly dead man's website were listings for highly suspicious contract work. Phrases like, "Need 2 snipers, no ID, 8 days. Cleaning required. No US, UK, or Canadian passports. Immediate need for multilingual asset, discreet." These weren't web dev gigs. There was something else. Something lethal. Diggers kept digging. They traced server info, DNS registries, account overlaps. Everything pointed to a small, closed group of ex-military contractors communicating through obscure online code. The message, Lake City Quiet Pills, wasn't a joke. It was a front for hired killers. Then, something happened. On January 19th of 2010, the world watched as Mahmoud el-Mahou, a senior Hamas military commander, was assassinated in a Dubai hotel room. Surveillance footage later showed a team of assassins, moving with cold, precise coordination. They used fake passports, spoofed security systems, cleaned the room with military discipline, and guess what? Just days before the assassination, a message appeared on LakeCityQuietPill.com source code. "Happy New Year, gents. We are flush this month. We got 38 hotel rooms booked, 2 conference rooms, and 4 transport vans. Security is tight like never before. Good hunting." The date of the message matched the timeline of the assassination perfectly. Coincidence, or was this obscure, outdated image host actually a hub for international contract killers? Some dismissed it as an elaborate hoax, but others pointed out that whoever was behind the site had deep knowledge of operational security. The postings weren't vague, but efficient. The language, coded, yet clear to the right audience. Then came the last post. After an intense scrutiny from the Reddit community, LakeCityQuietPills.com went dark. The job postings vanished. The server was wiped. 26 never posted again. The trail went cold. But not for everyone. Some claimed they received private messages from 26 before he disappeared. Messages that warned them to stop digging, to forget what they had seen. A few even reported strange emails, dead links sent with no explanation, or anonymous accounts watching their activity. One user said his apartment was broken into. Nothing stolen, but his laptop was left on. opened to the Lake City Quiet Pills archive page. And there's more. An archived copy of the site revealed irregular update times, activity spiked around major international incidents, arms deals gone wrong, sudden regime changes, assassinations. Always days before something big, always buried in innocuous file updates. Some of the names in the job postings later turned up dead. Accidents, suicides, heart attacks. Others were never found at all. And yet, the myth persists. Every now and then, someone claims to have found another mirror of the site, another set of postings in a hidden directory. Some say it's still active, moved to a deeper layer of the dark web, accessible only through encrypted tunnels and shared keys. Not Tor, something more secure. A user in a private Discord claimed that he was recruited, that they tested him, gave him small jobs, surveillance, photos, tracking movements. He thought it was LARPing until he found his own face in the next job posting. A warning. A message. He disappeared soon after. Although we still don't know who Religion of Peace really was, the woman he supposedly impersonated, Susan Lindauer, has denied involvement. The name 26 could be a military reference or just another misdirection, but maybe that's the point. Maybe Lake City Quiet Pills were never meant to be discovered. Maybe it was a relic of an older internet, when secrets could still hide in plain sight. Or maybe it was a trap, a social honeypot for would-be mercenaries, a private game played by dangerous people, laughing in the shadows. And maybe, just maybe, it's not over. Every so often a new account appears, cold, efficient, dropping cryptic posts on forgotten forums, using old code phrases, referencing Quiet Pills again. Some say it's a new recruiter, others think it's just someone trying to resurrect a dead legend. But if the killings start up again, you'll know it was never a legend at all. Just a loaded gun, buried in the code, waiting for the next trigger. There's a place on the internet where things are not what they seem, where children's cartoons are twisted into nightmares, where innocence is exploited behind a veil of bright colors and nursery rhymes. This isn't hidden on the dark web. It's right here on YouTube. They called it Elsagate. For years, parents trusted YouTube. They handed their toddlers phones, confident that the algorithm would recommend safe, educational content. But what they didn't know was that the system was broken, or worse, being abused. By 2016, a new kind of video began to appear. At first glance, they looked harmless. Elsa from Frozen brushing her teeth, Spider-Man dancing to upbeat music, Peppa Pig laughing with her friends. But one click and everything changed. Suddenly, Elsa was being injected with needles, Spider-Man was tied up and tortured, and Peppa Pig was screaming while being chased by a monster. The bright colors remained. The music kept playing, but what unfolded was nothing short of a nightmare. And children were watching. These videos racked up millions of views. They were recommended endlessly, auto-played without interruption. They were perfectly engineered to fool the algorithm, and fool parents too. The content was often bizarre, sometimes violent, and frequently sexual in tone. There were skits involving pregnancy, bondage, force-feeding, mutilation, and themes no child should ever see. Many were low budget, thrown together with poor animation or adults in costumes, but that didn't stop the views from coming. Some called it a glitch, the result of an algorithm chasing engagement without understanding ethics. Others saw it as something more coordinated, something with purpose. Because some of these videos weren't just strange, they were disturbing in ways that felt deliberate. Elsa locked in a cage crying, babies screaming as masked characters loomed over them. In some cases, children appeared to be in real pain. There were reports of what looked like an actual abuse, filmed and packaged under the disguise of play. Then came the comments. Seemingly innocent videos would be filled with odd messages, foreign language remarks, rows of emojis, or cryptic timestamps. Clicking on them revealed moments where a child was bending over or crying or exposed in some type of way. It didn't take long for people to realize that predators were lurking. Some of these videos were being tagged and bookmarked, shared in secret forums and Telegram groups. People were using YouTube to communicate, using code, using symbols, using children's videos as the medium. YouTube responded by disabling comments, banning accounts, and changing policies. Thousands of videos were removed, but for every channel that vanished, another popped up in its place. And it kept happening. One father shared a story outline about how his 3-year-old son suddenly developed night terrors. The boy kept saying strange things. Spider-Man hurts Elsa. Peppa's locked in the freezer. When the dad checked the YouTube history, it seemed fine. Nothing inappropriate. But when he clicked on the videos, he was horrified. What looked like learning content was filled with screaming, with trauma, with blood. Characters being buried alive, others being drugged, all under the disguise of nursery rhymes and soft colors. He wrote, "I thought I was protecting my child, but I was feeding him nightmares." The media picked up with the story, news outlets covered it. Elsagate became a household term for a short time. YouTube cracked down hard, but the damage was done. Even now, traces of it remain. Some creators simply changed their titles. They rebranded it as ASMR or slime videos. They kept the thumbnails cheerful but hid disturbing content within. Some began uploading videos unlisted and sharing them through private links on Discord or dark forums. Investigators, both amateur and professional, started asking hard questions. Was this simply a content farm operation gone rogue? Or was it something more organized? Some believe it could be linked to child exploitation rings, hiding in plain sight, using the platform as both bait and distribution. And the more you looked, the worse it got. The reality is that the internet, even in its most mainstream platforms, can be weaponized. By greed, by sickness, by people who know how to manipulate systems that were never built to understand human decency. Elsagate was a wake-up call. It showed us that horror doesn't always live in the shadows. Sometimes it dances in front of a green screen wearing a superhero mask. Sometimes it sings a lullaby. It reminded us that even when a screen glows with cartoon colors and cheerful music, something sinister might be watching back. And even now, if you go searching, you'll find videos that feel off. Videos that shouldn't exist. Videos where characters smile just a little too long. Where the music skips. Where the scream is buried under laughter. Elsagate didn't disappear, it just changed its mask. So next time you see a child giggling in front of a tablet, ask yourself, what are they really watching? And who is watching them? In the digital age, where information travels faster than thought, where secrets are stored not in safes but in encrypted servers and private inboxes, there exists an unseen war. A war of data, deception, and invisible predators. In 2009, the world briefly glimpsed one of the most terrifying ghosts to ever haunt the internet. It was named Ghostnet, an international cyber espionage operation that infiltrated more than 100 countries. But Ghostnet was more than just malware. It was something bigger, stranger. It was a digital phantom, one that blurred the boundaries between state surveillance, rogue intelligence, and something that felt otherworldly. The first signs of trouble came from a place of peace. The office of the Dalai Lama. Staffers reported strange behavior on their computers. Emails went missing. Files moved or vanished. Sometimes, cameras turned on by themselves. Microphones flickered without cause. At first, they blamed glitches, but the anomalies only grew. Soon, they reached out to a cybersecurity team called Information Warfare Monitor, which included experts from the University of Toronto's Citizen Lab. These researchers weren't just skilled, they were obsessive. The more they pulled at the threads, the more they discovered, and the deeper the horror ran. They uncovered a massive surveillance network that had quietly infiltrated 1,295 computers. In embassies, foreign ministries, government offices, media agencies, and NGOs across 103 countries. This wasn't a blunt force hack, this was surgical, precise, like a surgeon reaching inside a patient without leaving a scar. The tool at the heart of Ghostnet was GhostRat, a form of remote access Trojan malware. Once installed on a computer, it granted its operators near total control. They could read documents, log every keystroke, access every file, even activate microphones and cameras, silently. Victims had no clue they were being watched. GhostRat could even delete itself and disappear, leaving no trace. It was a ghost in every sense of the word. But here's where things get strange. As the team traced the servers, many were located in mainland China, especially on commercial hosting services, but no one could conclusively prove who was behind it. The Chinese government denied involvement, yet the malware showed a clear interest in Tibetan, Indian, and Southeast Asian organizations. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe Ghostnet wasn't the work of just one group. Maybe it had evolved, replicated, spread beyond the control of its creators. During the investigation, some researchers began experiencing odd things. One investigator reported receiving voice calls from unknown numbers. When he answered, all he heard was static and breathing. Files he had downloaded from infected servers seemed to rewrite themselves. And in one particularly disturbing case, a document recovered from a compromised embassy PC was entirely blank, until viewed on an isolated machine where a single phrase appeared on the screen. You shouldn't be here. Even more bizarre were claims from individuals whose systems had been infected. These were not ordinary victims, they were diplomats, activists, journalists, people who were used to privacy. One said he returned home from work to find his computer turned on, playing audio from a conversation he'd had earlier that day, in a closed room. Another found images from his webcam saved into a folder he never created. A few victims claimed to see their cursor moving on their own. Others watched as files were opened, copied, and closed without them lifting a finger. It was as if someone or something was inside their machines, not just watching, interacting, testing limits. Cyber experts brushed off the paranormal angle, of course. They talked about command and control servers, phishing techniques, zero-day exploits. But for those affected, the horror wasn't technical. It was deeply personal. Because Ghostnet didn't just steal data, it stole control. In the hands of a skilled operator, GhostRat turned a laptop into a surveillance drone. It transformed a phone into a wiretap. It made every home office, every embassy, every government facility into a glass house. And the victims, they never even knew the glass was there. What made Ghostnet so effective wasn't brute force. It was trust. The malware spread primarily through social engineering. It would arrive in an email that looked completely legitimate, sometimes from someone the victim knew. It used language specific to their interests, projects, and concerns. And once they clicked, it was already too late. In one confirmed case, the malware was disguised as an invitation to a conference. In another, it was hidden inside a press release from a human rights organization. Once infected, the victim's machine became a node in a growing, evolving network, a ghostly web of control stretching across the globe. And then, as soon as it popped up, the network went quiet. After the public report was released in 2009, many of the Ghostnet command servers went dark. They vanished seemingly overnight. But for many cybersecurity experts, this was no victory. It felt more like a withdrawal, as if the thing had simply recoiled, observing, evolving, and waiting. There were theories. Some believed Ghostnet was the product of a rogue faction of the Chinese military. Others suggested it was an experiment in psychological warfare, testing not just surveillance techniques, but how far they could push a person's sense of reality. A darker theory emerged from deep web message boards that Ghostnet had become autonomous, that the code had evolved beyond its creators, rewriting itself, infecting systems not for data, but for observation, for learning, and for presence. One anonymous user on a defunct hacking forum posted a chilling message. Ghostnet is watching the watchers. It's not about politics anymore. It's about seeing everything, feeling everything. It's not Chinese. It's not human. It quite literally is a ghost. Of course, these theories were ridiculed. There's no official record of supernatural activity tied to Ghostnet, but there are whispers. Like the researcher who vanished shortly after trying to trace a reactivated Ghostnet server in 2012. Or the European diplomat whose hard drive was found wiped, except for one file. A looping video of her sleeping, taken from her webcam. The timestamp was 2 weeks before she noticed any malware. Or the private investigator in Bangkok who claimed to receive emails from a server connected to Ghostnet. Emails written in his dead brother's voice. Coincidences? Maybe, but Ghostnet was real. Its reach was vast, and unlike other cyber attacks, it wasn't just about power. It was about presence. It wanted to be inside. To this day, experts believe variants of Ghostnet code are still out there. Mutated, dormant, hiding inside legitimate software or old systems, waiting to reactivate. And here's the most terrifying part. You wouldn't know if it was already on your machine. It wouldn't slow down your computer, and it wouldn't crash your programs. It would just watch. So the next time your webcam light flickers for no reason, or your mic activates in the middle of the night, don't dismiss it. Maybe it's just a glitch, or maybe Ghostnet is still with us, watching, listening, learning, and waiting.